How are you, everybody who is watching this video? I would like to take this opportunity to welcome some physical, electronics, and telecommunication engineering students, and also non-physical students who are not physically or in physical contact with me. My name is Olenjolain. It's the first time to meet me. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to add a value in your present and future life. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you into our very interesting department, or our very interesting online school that we call the Tanzania Online Full Technical College, in square bracket Olenjolain. But also we have another higher institution which is called the Tanzania Online Institute of Technology. In these two institutions, the good news, we have some departments, and one of the departments is called Departments of Electronics Engineering, and another department is called the Departments of Telecommunication Engineering. I would like, this is one of the subject or module or course that we are teaching in Departments of Electronics Engineering. It's called the Electronics Drawing. But in Tanzania, we are teaching also these modules in some physical institution, because we are teaching physically and also by using the power of the internet. So we are in chapter 1 that's called Introductions of Electronics Drawing. I would like to say that this is the course for any secondary education student, for any electronics engineer, for any telecommunication engineer, for any electrical engineer, for any communication engineer or communication scientist, for any computer engineer, for any biomedical equipment engineer. So it means that this is the course which is important in all the related fields or fields of electrical engineering. And this course, it's just we are teaching from the fundamentals, and then we'll be adding the value into the intermediate skills, and later on we'll go to the advanced skill. So if you have never heard anything about electronics drawing, then you are still asking yourself questions. Is this the right place? I want to tell you that this is the right place, because we are going to start from the fundamentals and build up on top of those fundamental skills until you master the concept of electronics drawing. Simply, whenever you want to think about solving real-life engineering problems, there's no way out that you can solve that real-life engineering problems without having something that we call them drawing. That's why that in the field of engineering, we have engineering drawings, and specifically, we also have electrical drawings, we have electronics drawing, we have telecommunication drawings, and some of the special drawings which will learn them as that you'll be pursuing maybe undergraduate or bachelor studies, or maybe postgraduate studies. So today we are in lecture 2 that titled as Terminologies of Electronics Drawing. We are going to discuss mainly just the 5 important concepts in this first topic. But I want to tell you that, and I want to give you a promise. These 5 important concepts will change your way of thinking and your way of understanding and working on this particular module. So I would like to appreciate some physical students who have joined me in this class, and then we are going to start. Because for myself, I'm ready to take you from one point to another point. So how are you, ordinary diploma in electronics and telecommunication engineering students? How are you, students? Good morning. Are you ready for lecture 2? Are you ready for lecture 2? Okay, well, so if you are ready, I believe even those who are not physically or in physical contact with me, they're also ready to receive what I've prepared for them. So, class say electronics drawing. Again, say loudly electronics drawing. Again, say loudly electronics drawing. Okay. So, before we dive into lecture 2, let me do the quick review of the previous lecture, of the previous concept that we have discussed in previous aspect. So this is quick review of some fundamental skills. Quick review of some lectures. Let's say lecture dash. So if you do remember that in previous concept, I have been discussing with you the meaning of engineering. And actually we say that engineering in mathematics, or just in short, we may write that engineering is actual mathematics plus science is applications of mathematics, science, and technology. That's why that we have the Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology. That's what we have said. And we say that actual engineering is just the purposeful use of of science. So in short, engineering is purposeful use of of science. You have to remember this definition for the rest of your life. And sometimes say that it's applications of mathematics and the science to solve real life engineering problems, because you can have economics problems, you can have political problems, etc., etc. Then another terminology you have to remember is all about electronics. So in case of electronics, you say that this is the branch of science. It's a branch of science, but this is the branch of science which is actually distinguished from other branches of science, where actually that we say that we are dealing with systems, devices, instruments, circuits that actually transfer currents from one point to another point by using electrons, plus charged particles, we call them holes. So simply, this is all about semiconductor. So when you talk about electronics, we talk about semiconductor physics. Then another important terminology that you have to remember for the rest of your life is electronics engineering. Electronics engineering. So electronics engineering we define as is a purposeful use of electronics electronic science. So you are here to learn how to use the particular science or knowledge of science and mathematics that you have learned. Then another important terminology which we have discussed with you is about telecommunication. So in telecommunication, simply we can summarize, it's actual, this we say that is a branch of science where actual that information will be transmitted from one point to another point through the media. So actual telecommunication, we means that we have transmitter, we have medium. Simply it means that in telecommunication, we have source of the information, we have destination. But in between, we have medium. So it's actual that we say telecom or tele means what? Far. Right? Communication means electronic communication, because we have also human communication. And then this is the homework that I left it to you. But also I left it for you to define telecommunication engineering. So telecommunication engineering is actual purposeful use of telecommunication science. So if you want to master telecommunication engineering, you must be aware with telecommunication mathematics, or mathematics applied telecommunication field, or telecommunication engineering, and the science behind. Then now you can understand the concept of telecommunication engineering. So today let us discuss about terminologies of electronics drawing. We have been discussing about terminologies, about reference books and whatever, and so forth and so forth. So when you talk about terminologies of electronics drawing, say terminologies of electronics drawing. Again, say terminologies of electronics drawing. And check your neighbor if he or she is pronouncing. Say terminologies of electronics drawing. Whenever you want to learn a particular knowledge, whether from fundamental or intermediate or advanced level, always you have to start from the fundamentals. If you want to comprehend or to learn a particular knowledge, you have to learn the foundation of that knowledge before you go for the moderate concept and even advanced concept. Similarly, before I teach you how to draw those electronics drawing by using your hand and also by using the computer, it's better to teach you the fundamentals, the skills. What does it mean when you talk about electronics drawing? What are the common terminologies that we are going to use them often? Are we together? Are we together? Okay. So the first thing, terminology of electronics drawing, we call it drawing. The module is called the electronics drawing. Say electronics drawing. So say electronics drawing. So electronics drawing is combinations of how many words? A, two. The first one is what? The second one is what? So you have to understand first, what does it mean? What the meaning of this module? What has been intended? So say drawing. Ask your neighbor. I believe that, especially in nursery school, you have been very good in drawing. And drawing what? People. You remember? Drawing people, drawing helicopter, drawing airplane, drawing car. So ask your neighbor, how many times did you enjoy the task of drawing? Ask your neighbor. So it means that you have a foundation of drawing, isn't it? But maybe in secondary, even in secondary education and primary education, you have been drawing, right? You have been drawing. For instance, I believe that, I remember that in physics, for example, the first, we call it the first level of machine. Do you remember? You have to draw. The second level of machine, the third level of machine. If you are discussing about Purely system, you have to draw. So you have been drawing. Right? So what is drawing? Ask your neighbor now. What is drawing now? If you have been drawing, you have been doing the process. But what does it mean? Define drawing for me. Ask your neighbor to define drawing for you. Not to draw for you. Define. So keep talking to your neighbor. Why are you silent? If your neighbor is silent, boost him or her on my behalf. If your neighbor is silent, just boost in this way. So drawing, keep quiet. Drawing is the visual art that uses instrument to mark paper or another 2 or 3-dimensional surface. You can define the word drawing in different ways. This is one of them. Hello? The second day, you may also define the word drawing. Drawing is the act. Is the act of creating, drawing, the act of creating marks on a surface, usual with tools like pencils, pens, markers, charcoal, crayons, to represent ideas, present objects, to represent scenes or emotions. These are the two ways or two definitions of the word drawing, including the one that maybe you might think about. Stop writing. I said stop writing, listen and watch. Again, class, say drawing. Drawing. Say drawing. Drawing. In this semester, we are going to learn about electronics drawing. What is it? So drawing, this is the visual art. Say art. Art. Say art. Art. What the means of art? Visual art. What does it mean? Visual art in Swahili manake tunasema ni sanaa inayoonekana. Art kwa Kiswahili ni kwa hiyo manake kuchora ni sanaa inayoonekana. Sawa jamani? So we say that drawing is a visual art that uses what? Drawing instruments. To do what? To mark paper or another 2 or 3-dimensional surface. When you talk about the 2 or 3-dimensional surface, it might be a paper, it might be maybe a computer monitor, or a mobile phone display, LCD display, or an iPad display. When you talk about 2-dimensional, we mean that that surface where we are going to mark, actually we are going to represent our visual art by using the instrument, it has only 2 axes, x-axis and y-axis. When you talk about the 2-dimensional, hello, I said separating, listen and watch. Oh yeah. When you talk about 2-dimensional surface, it's just like this blackboard. This blackboard, it's 2 dimension. It just has y-axis and x-axis. Right? When you talk about 3-dimensional, when you talk about 3-dimensional, it's a good example of 3-dimensional is myself. I am a 3-dimensional surface. I'm not a 2-dimensional surface. What does it mean? When you talk about this is 2-dimensional. When you talk about 3-dimensional, we expect you to have 3 axes. 3 axes. This axis in mathematics we call it the y-axis, and this one called the x-axis. So talk about 3-dimensional is actually talk about 3 axes. This maybe we may call it X, or just let us call it Y, because I know this is the new skill for you. Let us call this X, and this let us call it Z. Hey, 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 stand up. So when you talk about this two-dimensional surface, it's a surface where there is no another third axis. But by using computer devices, we may also draw a visual or a diagrams or a drawings. We may represent our drawing in multi-dimensional surface. When you talk about it three-dimensional, it's simple. This surface is horizontal surface. Oh yeah. This is horizontal surface. Is this it? And this is the vertical surface. When you say that you have three-dimensional, also we have the Z axis. The Z axis is always perpendicular to all the to the X and Y axis. So from this first definition, what can we extract? We can extract three important information. The first one, what's the meaning of drawing? It's the visual art. The second one, how do we draw? By using drawing instrument. The third information, where do we draw? On either a paper or two or three dimensional or multi-dimensional surface. So it means that in order to draw, you need surface of drawing or drawing surface, you need drawing instrument, you need the picture of what you want to draw. Class, are we together? Are we together? Have your seat. So you might notice that from this definition, it did not mention examples of those drawing instruments. Then, when you talk about drawing in the second definition, drawing is the act of creating marks on the surface. So this is the art of creating what is act, nikitendo, of creating marks. When you say marks, you don't mean the one that you have to score in exam. Even a dot, I can have a drawing of this one. This is the drawing. Even a line, it's a mark. Even X, it's a mark. Even maybe a cycle, it's a mark. Are we together? Are we together? On the surface. Usually by using what? We use drawing tools. Like what? Pencils, pens, markers, charcoal, crayons, to represent what? Idea, or objects, or scene, or emotion. So ask your neighbor, what's your emotion now that you want me to draw for you? So when your neighbor gives you that response, then draw, represent, draw his or her emotion. So these two definitions actually support themselves, or support each definition. Because you see that from this definition, in order to do drawing, or whenever we want to make a drawing, we should have an idea of what we want to draw. Right? The second information that we have to extract from this definition, we may use, or we have to use drawing tools or drawing instruments. Such as what? Pencil, pens, markers, charcoals, crayons. And then the third important, Jackson, stand up. The third important piece of information, we need surface. The surface where we have to locate our drawing. Class, are we together? Yes. Is it clear? Yes. Question. If you have a question, you may ask. Ask your neighbor, did you understand the definition of drawing? Ask your neighbor, did you understand the definition of drawing? The second terminology. The second terminology, we are done with drawing. You said you've understood, that's well. You may have, but remember one thing which I want to tell you that I'm not teaching you to claim this definition. You have to understand them. I might ask you a question in that terminology, but it will test your understanding, not memorization. So don't spend the whole night claiming. Drawing is a easy visual act. Understand, not keywords. Then, about the other words and conjunctions and preposition, you may use the way you are. Because you are in higher institution level, we are no longer teaching you to claim. We are teaching you to understand. And the one level of understanding is actual trying to describe and explaining different things or different concepts in that particular field by using your own words. Okay? Then the second important and meaningful terminology is called the engineering drawing. Engineering. Say engineering drawing. Say engineering drawing. Ask your neighbor, where do we make drawings? In which mention the fields that where drawings is crucial or is important. Ask your neighbor. Taja maeneo ambayo michoro ni muhimu. Yani muulize jirani yako. Ask your neighbor and mention the fields where drawing is important. So we have engineering drawing. Listen, we have scientific drawing, the one that you have been making. We have mathematical drawing, the one you have been drawing from primary school. For example, in coordinate geometry. For example, finding area and perimeters. You have been drawing cycles, you have been drawing cubes, you have been drawing cylinders. Those are the drawing. So you have mathematical drawing. We have scientific drawing. For instance, you remember the figure or the drawing of 40 of the human eye or of the convex lens. You know the drawing of the concave lens. You know the drawing of the magnetic field between the north pole of the magnet and south pole of the magnet. Those we call them are scientific drawing. But another field which is important, which I believe that you've encountered in your life, is architectural drawing. Have you seen it? Architectural drawing. Say architectural drawing. Architectural. Say architectural drawing. Architectural drawing. Yes, so that's another important field. I think that you've been seeing your father or your mother building a house. So that house before it has been built, it has been constructed, then there is the architectural drawing. But also there are the structural drawing. Say structural drawing. Say structural drawing. In most cases, architectural drawings actually show you the physical layout. But structural drawings is actually a drawing which involves with measurements. But also there is engineering drawing. Say engineering drawing. Engineering drawing. Say engineering drawing. Engineering drawing. It's the one that we are responsible to teach you. In primary and secondary education, we have taught you mathematical drawing. We have taught you scientific drawing. Now, remember that what is engineering? Is the purposeful use of science. Right? So in engineering or engineering drawings, we'll be teaching you how to use that scientific drawings to solve real life problems. Right? So ask your neighbor, what is engineering drawing? I say talk to your neighbor. You have a neighbor on your left hand side and right hand side. Diana, talk to your neighbor. I say talk to your neighbor. I didn't tell you that to write the question too. I told to talk to your neighbor. Ask your neighbor, what is engineering? What do you understand about engineering drawing? It means we are drawing about concave lens. Yes, so talk to your neighbor. So this is one of the definition of the terminology engineering drawing. Let me just give you the second way that you can define. Okay, stop writing. I've written 2 definitions of engineering drawing. You may find more than 2 definitions according to the different sources. The first one, we may define the word engineering drawings in this style. What is it? This is the graphical representation. Remember that once it was visual art. So when it was visual art, the first definition, when we define the word drawing, we define the general. So when you talk about engineering drawing, this is a specific drawings, which will be different from architectural drawing, which will be different from, let's say musical drawings, or maybe art drawings in music, or maybe in footballs, whatever the case, because this is the art. It's art, right? When you say art, actually it means that we have different aspects of art. Even music, it's an art. So you have music drawing. Can I show you music drawings? No. Next time. Okay, so engineering drawing, this is the graphical representation of what? Objects, or it's a graphical representation of components, or it's a graphical representation of systems. Use the, hello, Mr. Signing. Wait a moment. Use the to communicate how something is designed, or how something in engineering is designed, how something in engineering is constructed, how something in engineering is assembled. So it's a very powerful definition of engineering drawing. If you want to extract some skills within this definition, you may extract a lot of skills. I said stop writing, listen, watch on the blackboard. Let me repeat about the first definition. Engineering is a graphical representation. Say graphical representation. Graphical representation. Say graphical representation. Graphical representation. So this is the graphical representation of what? Of the objects, or it's a graphical representation. Say graphical representation of the objects. Say it loudly. Say graphical representation of the components. Graphical representation of the components. Or graphical representations of the systems. Graphical representation of the systems. Use it to communicate how something in engineering, say something in engineering is designed. Something in engineering is constructed. Something in engineering is assembled. Something in engineering is assembled. Ask your neighbor, who did design you? Ask your neighbor, who did design you? You are not talking to your neighbor, that's why you are slumbering. Ask your neighbor, who did design you? The second question, ask your neighbor, who did he construct you? Your father and mother? Of course. Then ask your neighbor, who did he assemble you? This is your neighbor. Doesn't he talk? Talk to him. Who did he assemble you? Ask your neighbor, who did he assemble you? Because you may think, hello, keep quiet. You may think on learning about engineering drawing, and you forget on learning about human drawing or your personal drawing. So, well, I think you have answered your neighbor. Well, you are not designed or constructed or assembled by your father and your mother. You have been designed, constructed, and assembled by God. Are we together? So, if you have been designed and constructed and assembled, if you say that it's your father and your mother, what is happening when your father and your mother actually were in the process of producing me, my father and my mother, producing you? It's a gene, it's a sperm from the father and the egg from the mother. So who did he construct, design, and assemble the eggs, the women eggs, and the men's sperm? Is it your father and your mother? Okay. So, it seems like your neighbor does not know about himself or herself. But he came to DIT to learn about engineering drawing. While the best option is to learn about yourself first. So in engineering, we are actual design. In engineering, we are constructing. In engineering, we assemble. So in order to communicate that object or components or system that you want to design or you want to construct or you want to assemble, then we have to use one language that's called engineering drawing. Class, are we together? 1, 2, 3. Read the first definition. 1, 2, 3, go. Not the second. I'm talking about the first one. So simple engineering drawing, we should need, it means it still have 3 important information in a drawing. The idea that you want to draw, the surface where you have to draw, and the instruments. But in that definition, we are not talking anymore about the surface and the instrument. We are talking about the idea. Because when you talk about engineering drawing, it means actually we may use the same instrument like the art drawing or the architectural drawing. But the difference is the idea. What do you want to represent? Right? So in engineering drawings, the idea we want to represent to have a graphical representations of the either engineering objects or engineering components or engineering system. And then that representation or graphical representation will teach us about how that object or component or system has been designed or constructed or designed or what assembled. Class, are we together? Yes. So the first definition is actually talk about what the idea. It's talk more about idea rather than the surface where you present your drawing and the drawing what instrument or tools. Are we together? In the second definition, we say that engineering drawing is a subcategory of technical drawings. Is a subcategory of what? From this definition, it means we have categories of technical drawings. One of that category is called engineering what? Drawing. So there is a field or there is a particular style that called the technical drawing. Say technical drawings. Technical drawings. How many of you come from technical schools in Tanzania? Such as the Funda Technical School. We have some students from Mtwara Technical School. We have some students from Mosh Technical School, Musoma Technical School. Raise up your hand if you are from the technical school. Okay, well. So when you talk about technical drawings, those students come from our technical schools. They have an idea more than you and I who did not study technical school. So this is a subcategory or it's a branch of technical drawing. Right? And what is happening? That shows the shape. So in this category, we show the shape, say shape, or structure, or dimensions, or tolerance, or accuracy. And the other what requirements needed to manufacture what or component. You were not thinking when you have been writing. You just write You just write the wrong way. So in this definition, we have some more important information. Well, so in engineering drawing, we may represent, or we may have, or we may learn the shape of the product. We may learn the structure of the particular product. We may learn dimensions. So dimensions means that measurements. Means that what? Measurements. We may learn tolerance of the product or component or part. We may learn accuracy, how that product is accurate by using drawing. And also we may communicate as a requirements required to manufacture a product or a part or what? A component. Are we together? Are we together? 1, 2, 3, read the second definition of engineering drawing. Read it. Category of Okay. So ask your neighbor, what is your dimension? What is your dimension? Because you're a product. You have been drawing, right? What's your dimension? And then ask your neighbor, what's your accuracy? How accurate are you? Talk to your neighbor. That's your neighbor. So, class, is it clear? Did you understand the meanings of engineering drawing? Yes. Yes. Well, so in engineering drawing, we have also different types of engineering drawing. I think, yeah, before this number 3. One thing which this is not before for the rest of your life. Engineering, not these 2 points. Drawing is a language. That's one sentence. Drawing is a language. Drawing is a what? Language. Yes, you can communicate a particular message. For instance, can you draw the face of your neighbor? Yes. When you draw the face of your neighbor, the present face of your neighbor, you can communicate the physical appearance. If your neighbor is crying, then you put something like what? Tears, right? If your neighbor is smiling, draw your neighbor's face when he or she is smiling. Yes, yes, yes. He's drawing now. So drawing is a language. So when you draw your neighbor's face, it means you are communicating the present face of, or the physical, or the presence, appearance of your neighbor's face by using drawing. You don't use words. So it's a language. Are we together? Yes. Are we together? Yes. You used to draw your future car. Ask your neighbor when you have been a child. Were you drawing cars? Yes. Were you drawing cars? Were you drawing your future house? Of course, yes. Yeah? Aha. Number 2, engineering drawing. Engineering drawing is a technical, this is the technical language. Technicality? If you want to be a competent electronics and telecommunication technician and you don't know anything, or you have a lack of knowledge in drawing or electronics drawing, you will be a shallow technician. Because in engineering, that's why you heard that in engineering we don't have so many words, right? Yeah. So in INSAB, when maybe I want to communicate something in electronics, I might write, if I want to communicate something in electronics about how maybe a particular system, good luck stand up, how a particular system work, I might use even 10 pages. But if I use electronics drawing as a language, I can just use 1 page. Let me repeat. Take your mobile phone. Take your mobile phone. Take your mobile phone. Well, that is a finished product. Say a finished electronics product. Before making that finished electronics product, it means there's been drawing. There is a drawing for that particular mobile phone that you have. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? So, if I ask you to tell your neighbor, but because you know 2 languages now. One language is human language, English language or Swahili language, right? And another new language that I'm introducing to you, it's drawing as a language. Can you tell your neighbor how does your mobile phone work? But use your words. Tell your neighbor, how is your mobile phone? Make calls, send message, go to WhatsApp, just explain all the functionalities of your mobile phone. So I think that you may use a number of days to finish and show. But in terms of drawing, in terms of drawing, you may just see represented that information by using engineering drawing language in just 10 minutes or even within a short time. So try to imagine if your neighbor is writing about, this is how I used to send a message, this is how I used to make a call, if you have been called, this is the button that I have to press. I think that if you're writing, you'll have a number of pages, right? Rather than if you are just using the drawing to communicate how maybe the audio sections of your mobile phone went. Number 3 point that you have to note, electronics drawing is a technical. This is the technical what? Technical what? Technical language. Stop writing. Say, read, note point number 1, 2, 3, quickly. 1, 2, 3, go. Drawing is? Number 2? Engineering drawing is a technical drawing. Read number 2. Read number 3. So ask your neighbor, how many languages do you know? Ask your neighbor, how many languages do you know? The second question, mention the languages that you know. Okay, mention on behalf for your neighbor. If you know English, if you know Swahili, if you know Chaga, if you know Haya, mention them. If you know Zaramo, if you know Kwere, if you know Sukuma, if you know Maasai, mention the language that you know. So you have noticed that your neighbor knows few languages, isn't it? So tell your neighbor today, in this semester we came to learn a new language. Tell your neighbor, in this semester we came to learn a new language. Well, so this is the language. So if you know the language, okay, let us talk about English language. How can you categorize English language? We can categorize English language in 2 branches, structure and literature. Lugha kimsingi tunasema ni sarufi na nini fasihi. You scored A in Swahili, but you forgot. Of course. My name. Every question to my students is, of course. So, simply, if in English language, stop writing. If in English language, it's just a combination of what? Structure and but how do we call what? Saruf in English? Grammar? Saruf in English is grammar. Anyway, so in English you say that language is simply grammar plus what? Plus what? In Swahili language, this is actual represented by using what? Sarufi plus what? Fasihi. So similarly, in electronics drawing, it's a language which it has its own literature and its own what? Grammar. Tell your neighbor, electronics drawing is simple. So if you want to understand electronics drawing, you have to understand about grammar of electronics drawing and literature of electronics drawing. Are we together? But this is, we call it technical language. It's not the human. So don't expect it to have sarufi matamshi. Sarufi muundo. Sarufi maana. Kuna aina ngapi za sarufi? 4. Ya kwanza? Phonia. Syntax. Syntax is in English. Sarufi matamshi, sarufi maana, sarufi muundo, sarufi mtindo. Matamshi. Okay, how many types of literature do we have? 2. Oral literature and yes, so as well as we've been teaching about language, English language and Swahili language. So we have been preparing you to understand the electronics drawing language. So you have to use you have to translate that sarufi matamshi in electronics. What's its equivalent? Of course. Okay, class, are we together? Are we together? So this is the language. So if it's language, ask your neighbor, how long did you take? How long did you take to learn English language? How many years did you spend to learn English language? How many years did you spend to learn Swahili language? So I believe that your neighbor will tell you that you spent some time. Even electronics, even electronics drawings are the technical language. You may not learn and understand it in one day. You have to persist. Good luck, I said stand up. I didn't ask you to sit down. Are we together? So it should be tolerance. It should be patient. Because I know some students say, now I can draw the block diagram of satellite. Wait. Pause a moment. Do you know satellite or you just hear satellite? They study terminology. Now we are in our interesting subject, which is called the electronics drawing. And ask your neighbor, what is electronics drawing? Because your neighbor came to learn about electronics drawing. What is it? You know the meaning of drawing. You know the meanings of engineering drawing. What is electronics drawing now? And then the assignment, what is telecommunication drawing? So you may define these terminologies in different an electronics drawing is a graphical representation of electronic circuits and the components. Electronic circuits and components used to illustrate. Used to illustrate. Used to illustrate how they are interconnected and how the system works. How the system works. This is the simple definition of electronics drawing. You may use other styles to define these terminologies of electronics drawing, or you may use the one that I have given or I've shared with you. Separating. So an electronics drawing is a graphical representation. Say graphical representation. Ask your neighbor, how many graphs have you drawn in secondary education? How many graphs have you drawn? 5, 10? If your neighbors mention 5, ask him or her to bring one of the graph tomorrow, to bring for you. So this is the graphical representation. Stop writing, listen and watch. This is the graphical representation of electronic circuits, or it's a graphical representation of the components used to illustrate how they are interconnected and how the system works. Hello? Okay, so we have discussed. So 1, 2, 3, read the definition of electronics drawing. What is electronics drawing? So I have some important information about electronics drawing before we go to the last terminology, which is called the electronics drafting. And this is the very important. So we say that this is graphical representation of electronic circuits. Say electronic circuits. Ask your neighbor, what is electronic circuit? Ask your neighbor, what's electronic circuit? And once you ask your neighbor, answer the questions of your neighbor. So it's the graphical representation of electronics. Hello? Stop murmuring. It's a graphical representation of electronic circuits. It's a graphical representation of electronics components used to illustrate. So illustrate. Illustrate what? How they are interconnected. Hello, Diana's neighbor. And also, this electronics drawing show that how the electronics components and electronic circuits works. Are we together? Yes. So for instance, your body contains different organs. Ask your neighbor, how many organs do you have in your body? So many organs, right? And then ask your neighbor, are your organs interconnected or disconnected? Show your neighbor one of your organ. Show your neighbor one of your organ. And show the second organ. Show the third organ. Are those 3 organs interconnected or disconnected? Interconnected, right? How are they interconnected? By using coordination system. Coordination organ. And then, so it means that in electronics drawing we are going to learn how to represent different electronic circuits, different electronic systems, and show how the components are interconnected. How the components are what? One of my organ is the ear, and this is another organ, right? So my ear is interconnected with brain. Is interconnected with another organ which is called what? Eye. It's interconnected with another organ which is called what? Nose. It's interconnected with another organ called what? Tongue. So similarly, instead of having organs in the human body, in electronics engineering we think to replace those organs by electronics components. Say electronics components. Say electronics components. Yeah. So how those electronics components are interconnected. So when you have interconnected electronics components, then we can have electronic circuits. But the second part, in this electronics drawing, we are going to discuss, or we are going to represent how this electronic system or electronic circuits works. How are they work? So we can use the engineering, the electronics drawing language to represent it about a particular system and present it logically how do they work. Okay? So another important information, we say that these drawings, the electronics drawings, are the vital or crucial. Are vital or crucial part of the designing of the assembling and troubleshooting. Troubleshooting electronic system. Electronics systems. So these electronics drawings are vital, crucial part of the designing, say designing, assembling, troubleshooting electronic system. When you talk about troubleshooting, listen, stop writing. When you talk about troubleshooting, that the main responsibility of any skilled technician. Troubleshooting, simply it's finding or identifying the problem and fixing it. Are you together? Are you together? When you go to the hospital, the medical doctor is troubleshooting about your health. Right? Once the medical doctor succeeds to troubleshoot about your health, then he can actually cooperate with medical lab technician and finally provide a recommendation about the medicine, particular medicine that you have to use to recover your healthy state. Are we together? So instead of having patient, because in hospital you have a medical doctor and patient. So for you as electronics, we'll have electronics and telecommunication technician and electronic system or device. So we'll bring it to you to fix it. First of all, to identify the problem, and secondly, to fix it. Are we together? Yes. Are we together? Yes. So whenever you wanted to master designing electronic system, you want to master assembling electronic system, you want to master troubleshooting electronic system, one of the skill and one of the language that you must have is not English, it's not Swahili, it's not French, it is electronic drawing. It is electronic drawing. Ask your neighbor, do you like electronics drawing? Answer your neighbor's question. Note it, take a note of it. They can take different forms. Depending on the purpose. And on the purpose and level of detail. Jackson, what are you talking? But They all aim to provide the clear instruction instructions for constructing or analyzing electrical system. So electronics drawing can take different forms depending on the purpose and level of detail, but they all aim to provide a clear instruction for constructing or analyzing electrical system. Say electrical system. Say electrical system. So this is very important information. So rating. Electronics drawing can take different forms. Different what? Ask your neighbor, how many forms do you have in your life? Diana, I ask you to ask your neighbor. 2 forms. Mention them. And those forms depends, a law depends on the purpose. Purpose means reason. And level of detail. We have low level detailed electronics drawing. We have moderate detailed electronics drawing. We have advanced, or we call it advanced detailed electronics drawing. We have too much detail, moderate details, and even low level details. Right? So this is the one that decide the particular form. And also they all aim. Why do we have these different forms? The aim of having this different form is actual to provide a clear instructions for constructing that electronic system or electrical system or telecommunication system or communication system or analyzing electrical. Hello? Hello? Hey! Stand up. Stand up. Okay, the last C, terminology, before we end our class, is called the electronics drafting. Say electronics drafting. Say electronics drafting. So ask your neighbor, what is electronics drafting? Answer your neighbor's question. What is drafting? Is it the game that you have to play? Sit down. No? Okay. Good. So what is electronics drafting? Again, ask your neighbor, what is electronics drafting? Your neighbor doesn't know, Even yourself. Wow. So when did we hear the word drafting? We heard drafting in lecture 1 when we've been mentioning the reference books of electronics drawing. We mentioned something about drafting. Yes. Then it comes to the moment that we have to know what does it mean. So we say that in electronics engineering, electronics drafting is a process. Electronics drafting is a process of creating technical drawings and schematics that are used to design and manufacture electronics devices. Separating, listen and look. This is one of the definitions of electronics drafting. You may find a number of them. Electronics drafting, this is the process, say process. Of creating technical drawing. And what is schematic that are used to design and manufacture electronics devices or electronics systems. That's the meaning of electronics drafting. It's the process of creating technical drawings. So it means that electronics drafting, it's one of the subcategory of technical drawing. Right? But listen, this is actually the process of creating technical drawings and schematic. But what the intentions of these drawings and schematic is, they are used to design, manufacture, and construct the electronics devices or electronic system. Is it clear? Listen, let me just give you one thing, but I will talk more in lecture 3. In electronics drawing, the main intention of that skill, of that technical skill, is actual to represent a particular electronics idea or a particular electronic system for the intention of maybe learning, understanding, and just comprehending. It's not for the intentions of constructing or manufacturing or actual implementing. That is electronics drawing. Then when it comes to electronics drafting, I say listen and watch me. When you talk about electronics drafting, say electronics drafting. Actually, this is the technical skills whereby we create technical drawings and schematic. But our main intention is not to know how those systems works or how the components are interconnected, but the main intention is it can help us to construct that device or product or system or to manufacture it, or it can help us to implement it. Did you understand a simple difference between electronics drawings and electronics drafting? No, you didn't understand. Let me repeat. For instance, listen. For instance, you wanted to design an amplifier. Say amplifier. The primary function of amplifier is actually to boost the level of the signal. For instance, myself right now, I'm using a microphone. So within the transmitter that I have, there are the amplifiers, which amplifies. Just a simple system of amplifier. Just think about public address or music system, right? Or in public address, or maybe in seminars, maybe at church, or maybe in meetings, right? So the speakers use microphone, right? And then there are loudspeakers. They just speak, they are not speaking loudly, but you hear a loud voice, right? So what does it mean? There are amplifiers which amplify the signal or the acoustic signal from the speaker. Okay? So think that is the electronics idea that you wanted to draw and drafting. So the drawing is actual, you will be representing about how the components of the amplifier are interconnected and how they work. So electronics drawing will not actually discuss about how you will implement it, how you will construct that amplifier, how you will manufacture. Are we together? Are we together? So once you finish to apply the skills of electronics drawing, then you need the skills of electronics drafting. So the skills of electronics drafting is, now you know how the electronics components of the amplifier are interconnected and how they work together to amplify the signal. Then the next question, how can I construct it? Right? So in order to construct the amplifier, you need to draw electronics drafting of the amplifier. That will help you to construct it, to implement it, and manufacture the physical amplifier. Are we together? And this is not a new story. This is actually originating from God himself. God is a great in this first, our God is a first engineer, and our God is a great or everlasting engineer. Everything that we are doing in engineering is just a photocopy of what God has designed. Are we together? Are we together? Let me just give you a simple example. For instance, when you talk about the public address system, we have a microphone, there is actually a mixer, and there is also loudspeakers, right? Simple, that's the copy of what God has created. The microphone is just representing the human ear. Hello, madam, stand up. Stand up, yes, stand up, yeah, stand up. So the microphone is representing what is the human ear. The microphone is listening, right? Then the loudspeaker is representing what is the human mouth. Are we together? Are we together? So the loudspeaker or any speaker that we have, it's a copy of the mouth. It's representing my mouth, right? Any microphone that you know, including your mobile microphone, is just a copy of the human ear. You learned three main parts of the human ear. We have inner ear, we have middle ear, we have outer ear. The same structure for the microphone. Then when you talk about that phenomenon of drawing and drafting, right? So God created, said that, okay, let us create a man in our own image and the likeness. So it means God sat down and he drew the human drawing, right? Once the human drawings has been finished, then God drew the human drafting. How did he drew the human drafting? He actually took the soil and the creativity, the human being. So you are the output of God's drawing and the drafting. Tell your neighbor, I am the output of God's drawing and the drafting. Okay, take your mobile phone. Let us finish this class in this time. Take your mobile phone. Take your mobile phone. You don't have. Well, it's okay. Of course. So we did before, when we talk about the two main drawings in your mobile phone, when it has been designed, there is electronics drawing and electronics drafting. So electronics drawing is actually representing the idea, how the microphone is interconnected with the speaker, with the fingerprint, how is it connected with display and whatever. That's electronics drawing, right? Electronics drafting now is representing about construction, how that microphone is interconnected with the motherboard, or with the microprocessor, or with the microcontroller. That's all. Class, are we together? So in electronics, it's simply, we need idea. Once you have idea, then we go for electronic sorting. For electronic sorting, drawing. Once you have electronics drawing, then we go for electronic sorting. Electronic sorting, electronic sorting, electronic sorting, drafting. So then, let me know, did you understand? Did you understand electronics drawings and electronics drafting? Now, let us test you understand. This is the homework. What or explain briefly 7 differences between electronics drawing and electronics drafting. Seven, I didn't say. So the question, I read the question. Let us read the definition of electronics drafting. 1, 2, 3, let us go. There. So the main 3 things, sit down, that you need in any drawing, in electronics drawing, you need the idea, you need the electronics drawing, next electronics drafting. So the question is, explain briefly 7 differences between electronics drawings and electronics drafting. I didn't ask you to mention 7 differences. I asked you to explain, to teach, go and teach yourself what the difference between electronics drawing and electronics drafting. Later on, I will give you electronics drawing and electronics drafting. Then you have to say which is electronics drawing and which is electronics drafting. Are we together? Yes. Is it clear? Yes. Did you understand? Yes. Eh? Did you understand? Yes. Wow. So if you have understood, that is good. I would like to say that this is the end of lecture 2, and I would like to welcome you in lecture 3, where actually we are going to discuss in details about electronics drawing and electronics drafting. So I would like to invite you and invite your neighbor and your friends and some other students to come and discuss together and learn, because this is the language. But remember that, and be careful on this. Your process of learning or your journey of learning about electronics drawings and electronics drafting is not limited with my physical presence. You may learn and may have a strategy of learning it every day. Just like how you've been learning Swahili. You've been learning some words every day. So have a strategy to learn this new technical language. So, because you've understood, you've done a work, always, I'm not jealous. I'm always appreciating people who are doing work. You have solved the problems of understanding about electronics drawing and electronics drafting. So now prepare to congratulate. Now it's time to congratulate you. 1, 2, 3. Hongera. Imara. Wow. Very good. Thank you very much.
Afrika, Mungu ibariki Tanzania, dumisha uhuru na umoja wake kwa waume na watoto. Mungu ibariki Tanzania na watu wake. Ibariki Tanzania, ibariki Tanzania, tubariki watoto wa Tanzania.